Hi, today I'm talking about the key to overcoming procrastination. And this is part of a series I'm doing for complex PTSD recovery. And this also applies to lots of procrastination for lots of different kinds of people. And I want to talk about this key that's often overlooked, but if you've got complex PTSD, you're going to want to know this because it's the key to getting out. And it's also the key to helping your brain build lasting wellness. So it's really a wonderful opportunity. So I'm Rachel McLeod. I am a mental health therapist, a coach, and a therapist mentor, and I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. This is also key to helping people build the health and wellness, overcoming challenges like procrastination and relationship challenges, anything that's limiting people to reach their goals and overcome and live the life of their dreams. So, the same process that helps us resolve symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress is the one I'm going to talk about today. But the key here with overcoming procrastination specifically. Um, let's dive in. Let's see here. Okay, let's talk about procrastination for a moment because I know that you believe you experience procrastination very differently, very uniquely. Also, I want to talk about this from the brain's perspective, what procrastination is to the brain, um, which is different than what it means to you. It means you can't get things done. You've got piles. You've got things you're avoiding. People might be getting mad at you. You might be getting mad at yourself. That means a lot of things to you, and I absolutely respect that. And that's not what I'm going to talk about right here. So we're going to come into it from the brain's perspective. So procrastination from your brain's perspective means that something about the task you're avoiding or the cluster of tasks that you're avoiding, it believes is dangerous. Your brain believes something about that task is dangerous and it's going to protect you from it. So that means that your brain is going to keep you away from the task and it takes its job seriously of keeping you safe. And so you're not really going to overcome that. You can sneak past it once in a while, but as your brain learns that its protective measures weren't strong enough, it will work to make the protective measures stronger because it's serious about keeping you out of dangerous situations. And so we don't want to make that part of your brain mad, the part that wants to protect you, your survival system or your limbic system, because we don't want that part working against you anymore. Okay, it's already we don't we don't mess with that part of the brain. Those are my rules. That's how I work. But that's what it means. So anything that you're procrastinating, that means your brain thinks that it's dangerous. Something about that is dangerous. Now, this part of the brain, the survival system, is not a logic center. It's not a reasoning center. It's not a word center. You're not going to be able to talk and negotiate with it like you would a reason or logic with it, like, hey, it's not dangerous. Please, can we just complete it? This part of the brain wants to know if you're safe or you're not safe, and it's decided that that's not safe. So you really logic and reason isn't going to factor in here, as you may have already discovered. Um, but what we can do is we can help your brain resolve this issue so that it doesn't think it's dangerous anymore and it lets you complete the tasks. And it actually maybe will help you complete the task, which it will, not maybe. That's what brains do. That's their job, is to help you overcome and accomplish obstacles along your journey to reach your goals and bring in more satisfaction. So, um, I'm going to talk about the key in just a second, but I want to build you up to understand what procrastination is from your brain's perspective, what we're really dealing with. And now that there's something dangerous in here, we need to do two things. We need to find what your brain thinks is dangerous. Okay, we need to find that. Now, if you go into this hunting process with preconceived notions, biases, um, uh, disrespect, like we probably going to find something that you don't respect as dangerous. You're like, now I'm mad at you, brain. We want to do this non-judgmentally. If you go in with all these judgments, you might miss the thing and lose your opportunity to help your brain resolve this issue, right? So we need to go find this thing, and it could be you could be like, yeah, I get it. I see it from your perspective. That's dangerous. You could be like, oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. Or why is this even a problem? You can feel all that way, but we still need to go find this, whatever this thing is. And let me tell you that whatever this is will make exact emotional sense. It may not make logical sense, but it will make emotional sense why it's so dangerous. So it might actually make logical sense, but it will definitely make emotional sense. So that's task one. And the second thing that we need to do is we need to help your brain we need to walk your brain through its natural process for resolving the issue. In resolving the issue, that's also helping it make different associations. It's got this thing, whatever we're going to find is associated with danger. We want it to make accurate associations, that it's not dangerous, or it's dangerous sometimes but not this time, and get accurate. If there's something in there that is actually dangerous and you're procrastinating because it's dangerous, or you need to build more skill in order for you to get there, that's real and accurate, and that's to be respected, not to be like, oh, I'm so lazy. That means you need to build the skills, or you need to take the precautions necessary, right? Let's say you're procrastinating doing this task because you're going to have to go past that employee that screamed in your face a while ago, and your survival system's like, no, we're not going. You know, there's actually something, maybe it's not a level 10, shut the whole thing down, shut your whole nervous system down level of distress, but that's pretty confronting. You might have trauma about being screamed at that you're going to need to overcome in order to actually walk past that employee that screamed at you, which that's a whole thing, right? Why that's happening, that's a whole nother life. Um, but and so these procrastinations can, especially with complex PTSD, show us the exact trauma work that needs to be accomplished in order to move forward. Right? We need to help the brain untangle what it's caught up on. What's the snag? And oftentimes it's unresolved emotional distress, painful past events, those sorts of things, and the brain is still working on making sense of them. We want to jump in there and help the brain make sense of that and resolve those issues, whatever they are, overcome the obstacles. Then we will see a shift in the procrastination. This is often very simple. I just gave you an example of something very complex, but that happens. It's same process to resolve each of them, whether we have to do it multiple times, walk the brain through the process multiple times, or just a couple times, whatever. But brains need to unravel and resolve the issue regardless of its complexity, so that you can function in reality well, right? And that your past traumas aren't stopping you from succeeding and moving forward. I want you to have the same opportunities everybody else does. A nervous system that's working for you and not against your actual goals. It's working towards past goals for safety, right? And when you're just like, it's safe, I just want to go open the mail, you know? So, but we're going to help your brain get what it wants so that you get what you want. Okay, so now let's talk about this. So we're hunting for that thing that your brain thinks is dangerous. And the key to this is most often found in the pile of excuses. I love rummaging through people's piles of excuses because the gold is usually in there. X marks the spot. I most often see people misusing their excuses and disregarding them, attacking them, fighting against the excuses, self-harming because of the excuses, self-criticizing because of the excuses, and I can also see that other people around them are doing the same thing with them, and they get hammered when those excuses start to surface. And I would really like to convince you that this is actually a helpful brain process that we just have never used well. And there's a really wonderful way to use this and really partner with your brain around this area so that you can find out what the problem is and get it resolved. Right? And this is why a lot of adults, if you have a parent that said, stop telling me those excuses, if I hear one more excuse out of you, and you learn from an early age to suppress these things, this beautiful brain function, that's problematic and causes issues. And if not handled well, will shut your whole life down. Yes. Okay. But if handled well, unlocks all of the issues for you. But if you've got a parent from early childhood saying that, that means you've been taught to suppress and misuse your excuses for a really long time. And I am telling you that there is a wonderful, powerful way and quick way of working with excuses. And if we were able to do that with ourselves when we were younger, if our parents would have been able to do that with us, if our society would have been able to work with this and dig through that pile of excuses, um, we would be really great at working through our excuses. And whatever brains practice doing well, they do it better and better and better and better and faster and faster and faster. And pretty soon we'd be working through excuses very, very fast. We might not even be aware that we're working with excuses because it's running on a subconscious program. Well, right? We've got subconscious programmings that are crappy. They just run super wonderfully, like procrastination. Or we've got subconscious programming that is wonderful, high level, awesome. That's the stuff we build. We build all this wellness off of. We want things to work well. We want subconscious programming that is awesome. And it's worth practicing working through excuses and working with excuses to use excuses well. Okay? That's the high level. I want to take you a step into the excuses and I want to show you what this looks like and why there is gold in this pile, especially if you've got complex PTSD. Okay. And I also want to say, I almost want to say excuses are holy. Excuses are amazing. Excuses are fabulous. And we want to get really good at them. We don't want to get really good at believing them. A lot of the subconscious material that is surfacing for us is subconscious material. It's like it's our subconscious wisdom, and it's not necessarily been translated into um, human reality, information that we could express and discuss and have clarity around. Same thing as dreams, right? We have these dreams, and we can feel the meaning of the dream. We can feel the emotions in the dream, but we don't necessarily want to take the dream literally because it's subconscious material and it probably means more than what the literal translation means and a whole lot less than it. Like it's just this thing. But what we do want to do is we want to make sure that gets processed so that our translators and our analyzers and our nerd team gets on that and really makes sense of it for us and gets that stuff processed. It's more for our brain than it is for our mind. I don't know if that makes sense to you. It's more we want it's brain food. We don't want to analyze it yet until it gets processed and turns into stuff that we can understand, think about, have clarity with, epiphanies, insights, multiple perspectives, that sort of stuff. So, okay, that was something so important. Okay, so when you have excuses, I don't want you to believe your excuses like you wouldn't believe dreams, right? So I want you to be like, oh, this is important. Let's get it processed. Let's look through it. Let's figure out what's going on here. Okay? So if I ask you a question, let's say it's male, you're procrastinating male. And I say, well, why don't you just go get the mail? And you tell me, oh, well, it makes me sick to my stomach. Absolutely not. If I don't even know where I'm going to put it when I get it. I'm already buried in mail. All of these things are exact issues that your brain is hung up on. And one of the problems here is that your brains don't have problems with problems. They have problems with how they feel about the problems. Right? If we feel positively about the problems, you're not going to hear about the problems. Your brain's going to be like, ooh, we get to go do all these things and organize this and so fabulous, right? But if it feels heavy, if it feels worrisome, if it feels overwhelming, if it feels defeating, your brain is not going to want to do these things. And those emotions register as pain in the brain. And that's the signal your survival system is looking for to see if we're safe or we're not safe. And so that pain signal says we're not safe. And so now that next thing you know, we're fight, flight, freeze, faint, and fawning about the male. We're running from the male. We're fighting against the male. Maybe we got internal arguments going on, or maybe you're actually cussing the male out. I haven't thought of to do that before, but hey, you might be fainting. Your male might be putting you to sleep. Thoughts of your male actually make you drowsy and sleepy. Your brain is like, I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna knock you into sleep before you go towards the male because it will kill us. Right? Your survival system is really not logical. Are we safe? Are we not safe? Are we going to live? Or are we going to die? Right? The pain neurons are the thing that tells it if we're going to live or die. And so we're dying, right? That's what's going on in there. And so that's, if you can understand the reality of that, then you can understand why these things are dangerous to your brain, these activities. And so we want to get that pain signal off of these things. So we want to pain process these so that your brain can then get in there and analyze it and go through its next natural step, which is problem solving. Right? We need to problem solve what's going on with the stomach. This is actually somatic distress, and it's a lot of wonderful things, but it's pretty easy to resolve. I'll talk about that in a second. But we got things like I already have so much mail, right? That's more complex. That means that there's already a backload of problems, and the brain needs to probably create some steps to get there. But if it's so overwhelming, it's shutting down, it's fainting, it's collapsing in front of the task, and it's not going through the problem solving task where you get executive functioning, which means your brain would order it, prioritize it, figure out a strategy, put you on task and schedule, and you would follow through, and there it would go. That's that fabulous executive functioning that you can't get to if your brain is shutting down with the overwhelm. So we want to clear that overwhelm out of there so that your brain can go through the following steps. And each step might have its own emotional distress. If I'm overwhelming you right now, because I feel like this is a lot, feel free to do some somatic work, some mind body intervention, keep your brain on. This is an easy one. This one right here is fabulous by itself. Please take full responsibility of your own nervous system and health and wellness should you choose to borrow one of mine. Okay. Um, so, so now when we find these things, the sensation in the stomach is usually a simple one. And a lot of times, if we can just get that stomach sensation through the healing pathways, right? I'm going to tell you a little story about this that I just invented and told a client. I have some clients just trust what I'm asked. They're like, I just need this gone. Tell me what to do. Oh, tap, tap. Okay, I'm going to tap. Other ones are like, I need to know exactly why I'm doing this before I carry on, right? So those ones I have to like do. And sometimes along the way, which I do not mind doing. And then some things like this come up and I'm like, I've never explained it like this before. So, um, the information like this somatic distress actually has to go up your brainstem past your limbic system and into the prefrontal cortex where magic will happen, and the stomach will actually be able to hand off that distress and all the information involved with it, and then the top of the brain will be able to look through it and be like, oh, this is fabulous, we've been looking for this, and they go ahead and rewire and take that information and learn about things, and they change everything. Your inner wiring rewires to be more accurate because that stomach information is important. Okay, so it's got to come all the way up past the limbic system, but this stomach is distressed, so it's also firing the pain neurons. So the pain neurons are going, and the limbic system is like, we're dying, right? And so, and then right between the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex, the inner healer, right? The rewirer is a little drawbridge that we want it to stay down so that the information can cross from one side to the other, because that's the communication loop. The stomach needs to communicate with the top of the brain, right? It needs to pass the drawbridge. But once the survival system feels like it's freaking out, it instantly pulls the bridge up, right? And so then all the information on this side of the bridge, the stomach just keeps building up, and the stomach's like, I have to tell all these things, and all this information and electricity and energy that registers as pain in the brain, it raises that drawbridge and just gathers here until You shift out of that until the the survival system will send you off into fight, flight, freeze, faint, and fawn. And then, so you might go to sleep. You might start yelling at people. You might start fawning, people pleasing. And all of a sudden, you just shifted, and everyone's like, whoa, what happened there? But neurologically, your something from the stomach was running through and triggered the drawbridge up. So the communication loop between the stomach and the prefrontal cortex is interrupted and broken. So the survival system is doing this all the time. We want the survival system to leave the bridge down so that the stomach can actually finish communicating with the rest of the brain, because when it's done, the stomach will relax and the message is sent. It's over. The stomach doesn't resend the same messages over and over again. It will send new information. But if it didn't send it 10 years ago, it still hasn't sent it. So it's still showing up in your stomach. Okay, so we want that. So what we want to do with this, I hope you're following me. I'm explaining really complex things, and I hope in a way that is followable. But we want to get that stomach stuff, and we want to get it. We want to get it through without the drawbridge growing up. Right? We want it to be able to communicate, send your information to the top of the brain, because that's one of our helpers. That nausea, that somatic distress, is a helper. And it's one of the reasons, one of the excuses you have for not doing the task. So we use interventions here to convince the survival system to leave the drawbridge down. It listens to the body. And so if you can use the body to send signals at the same time the stomach is talking, then all of a sudden the drawbridge is staying down and the stomach gets to finish its work, and then the brain has all this beautiful material, this accurate material, and then rewiring starts shifting and moving, and next thing you know, you come back in and you're like, oh, let me go do that mail, and the nausea isn't there. But then the next excuse comes. That's the next one you help your brain with. And then you work through that one. And then we're going to go, once that's complete, we've got it through the drawbridge and they're reorganizing it. This happens in instances. This happens 2 minutes at a time, 3 minutes at a time. Sometimes what needs to get processed is a traumatic event from the past. Those are like 20 minutes. This depends on how complex the excuses list is. And they're all real. They all need to get processed. Sometimes the excuses list is one or two, no big deal. Sometimes it's really complex, and we just stay on it. We work through every single one. Once one is resolved, we know it's resolved because we'll go check for let's say the mail. We're going to go check in the mail. How do we feel about it? Well, I don't feel nauseous, and I'm really not overwhelmed, but I do feel like this. And that's the next excuse. That's the next pile we're going to sort through to help the brain process. And so it can decide if this is really dangerous or not. The mind body system has to go through its process itself. You can't just tell it, hey, it's safe. That's wonderful, but that's not how your mind and your subconscious mind and your body work. They have a process for this. And we have the opportunity to help them through their process of understanding what's safe and what's not safe for themselves. Then they're going to tell you, oh, that's safe, you should go do that. And you're like, I've been trying to tell you that this whole time, right? But they didn't. Now they've completed their process for this. Now they get it. Now they're like, yeah, let's get it. Now all three of you, your body, and your subconscious mind, are on the same page, and it's easy to do the task. That's the cool part, whatever that is. And this is really my process for helping people overcome procrastination and to be able to do things that they haven't been able to do in a long time, like being able to paint or do a hobby or write a book, or all these things that people want to do, but they have all these excuses, right? They're procrastinating. The more excuses you have, let's do it, and I want you to meet your excuses like that. I want you to be excited for them. I want you to see them as opportunities. This is your brain's best effort to help you accomplish the task. And that's strange when you're like, but it's so much resistance, like I'm going the opposite direction, like all these excuses. What do you mean these are helping me? It's actually your brain's handing you the reason it can't do it. So take that reason, get it processed, and because your subconscious mind, your body, they're not problem solvers. They can't solve the problem. They can only tell you about what it is. You got to get that information to the problem solver so that all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, we'll just do this. And then that gets sent back down as information. And then when you go do it again, it feels different. Your body is actually creating for you the way to accomplish the task. and it uses the excuses to do this. So your brain's not fighting with you. Your brain's not being a stink. Your brain is actually doing what brains do, the best they can do based on their design and their function to help you, to help itself be able to help you get what you want. So, I teach a lot of these strategies in my program, Inner World Transformation. This is the stuff we're doing. This is the stuff I'm teaching. It sounds complex, but it is not. It is. It happens so quickly. There's things people resolve in 5 minutes that have been problems for them a lifetime. There's things that people, it takes them a week or two to resolve something really, really complex, sometimes a couple months. But finally, after decades, they're up and running. They're up and doing their painting. They're up and redoing their music. They're up and starting their business. And that procrastination is not, their brain is not producing procrastination. It's producing overcoming results, accomplishment, realizations. And so that's huge and wonderful. So that I invite you to go ahead and look at that. It's an online program I've developed. I've made it available to people. It's also helpful for resolving complex PTSD, regular, not a simple complex PTSD, and simple meaning the opposite of complex, not simple, and anxiety disorders and depression disorders. The brain work is the same. And we just help the brain heal these things, help the brain stop creating problems, but work together in a way where they're creating solutions, health and wellness. That's what the brain's designed to do. So I invite you to go ahead and have a look at that. I left the link in my comments in my description area, and you can find that there. Take care. Bye.